next most difficult thing to do is put the ball in the back of the net. I think as far as executing the game plan, first half there were some moments defensively where I thought we were getting loose, but I think in the second half, again, we got good pressure on the ball against a team that likes to dominate the game with the ball and have a lot of possession in the final third, and I thought you guys did a great job. You know, I think the biggest takeaway for me, you know, the chance that Grace has in the first half in front of goal, obviously Cripsy hitting the post, and there's a couple others, but I think on the whole, I think we just need to make better decisions in that final third, and at times have more patience, because a big part of what we do is want to set up a good rest defense, and so if we have to rotate the ball to get a better option taking forward. But again, I think that's getting into the weeds and very detailed. I think we do enough to get through tonight. But again, it's football, and that's why you got to put your best foot forward every weekend, because you're not guaranteed anything. But again, I think it's a good performance to continue to build on as we get on the road.
This is probably the third home match that I've been to where the crowd has audibly expressed some displeasure with the officiating quite loudly. Your team had probably more than 10 or more fouls, more than Columbus for most of the second half. What were your thoughts on that? I guess how do you kind of approach that with what seemed, 5 yellow cards for you players?
Yeah, I think generally speaking, I would prefer a soccer game without any fouls called. Is the way I'd like to see the game. But if you're going to call fouls, I just think it's really difficult when there's so many yellow cards shown and then there's yellow card fouls after that don't get the same kind of treatment. And I think consistency is always important. But again, I think the refs are under, they're under a microscope every game. It's very difficult. But I think for this game, I think that guys are just, I don't know if there's a player on the field for our team that didn't have yellow card, which is probably the first.
Yeah, so this was the first RSL game since LAFC where they kept a clean sheet. What are your kind of thoughts on that in such a frustrating game with so many fouls and not being able to put away those chances? How important is that going forward?
That's a big point. It's so funny because you oftentimes don't realize that because you knock on the door a lot and you just don't get rewarded with the goal. But again, I think defensively, we were very aggressive and from that, I think we won a lot of balls in really, really good areas. And credit to the guys on the back line and the pressure that we had on the ball up front. Everyone did a really good job of making sure we didn't win the clean sheet. And against a team like this, that's obviously never easy. And I think it's a great foundation to build on as we continue forward. Over there.
You speak a lot about mentality. How would you rate this game for your team's mentality? It looked like they got Columbus with the heavily rotated side kind of got under the skin, and also the calls that were just mentioned kind of got under the skin of the players. Any thoughts on that?
Well, I would say from a mentality perspective, we want to be an aggressive team, and we want to be on the front foot. I think as we continue through the season, there's moments where we have to dial it back a little bit. But you always want to be dialing it back versus having guys that don't understand what it takes to win games. And you gotta scrap for every point to save. And so, yeah, I think from a mentality perspective, they approach the game the right way. Again, all the games that I've seen, even the game where Columbus goes to Tigres, they had a ton of the ball. And tonight, they had to work for every bit of possession that they had. And for me, that's a sign of a great mentality for every game.
What was the thought process on subbing out Brooks and Luna at the same time?
Well, again, I think at that moment, we weren't getting in behind. We weren't. The game needed a little bit of something. And Fidel, again, he's a guy that always looks for goal, whether it's training or in games. That was important. And then, bringing Ed onto the field where it asks another question of just bringing pace on the field. And so you have Andres and then you have Ando and trying to free up Chicho in the pocket. And I think he got the ball in some really good spots. Again, but I think in the final third, we just weren't clean with our decision making. That should have led to better opportunities that goal.
What's the thought process going forward after a game like this? Does it feel like you dropped 2 points in that moment?
No, it feels like we're 8 games into the season and there's a lot of work to do. Again, results you don't control. You can't get to the playoffs by counting points now. There's a lot more soccer to be played. So the important thing is performance. Did we execute the plan that we set forth? And I think we did. Again, the only thing lacking is the goals. But it's the hardest thing to do in football. And we'll just keep that going.
Pablo, there were a lot of yellow cards, and there was a potential yellow when Catranis was fouled right in front of the bench. You had a conversation with the fourth. Did you get an explanation on why that wasn't a yellow? Because it would have been a red. It would have been a second.
Correct, and I think that's what I was saying about consistency. And it's really difficult to manage a game when there's so many yellows thrown. But what I was told is you didn't see it as yellow. And so that's the information I was given.
You've talked the past few weeks about too many guys dropping too deep, and it's really hurting the build-up. Did you think guys did a better job of being between the lines where they're supposed to be when they're supposed to be there?
I think so. I think so. Again, I think every team poses its challenges given their defensive shape. And again, what we talk about is the spaces that are available for us to exploit. And I thought Diego Cursi picked up balls in really good areas. Andres always stretching, which was a threat all night. Chicho picking up the ball between the lines. And so I think for the most part, I think we did a really good job of that. Of staying between the lines. And again, I think and that's why I use every game as a barometer. You're not going to get from 1 to 10 right away. But I think since the Colorado game, we've done a really good job of understanding the structure, the roles and responsibilities, and the guys that can execute.
Given the fact you've got to go on the road the next 2 weeks, do you think the guys have shown the aggressiveness and the focus that's going to be required usually when you go on the road?
I think so. I think one of the things that we took from the Minnesota game was to continue to play the same way and not sit back and not let them have the ball because we want to preserve the result. We want to play the game regardless of the time and the score. We don't want to change what we do because then what ends up happening is you got half the group thinking a certain way and half the group thinking the other way, and in that disconnect, you're not a team anymore. And I thought tonight we didn't change that. We played to get that goal. We didn't, last 10 minutes, 15 minutes, we would drop another back. As a matter of fact, I think outside of we were hyper aggressive, and I love that. And I think the game, fortune favors the brave, and that we really love. And if we take a point now, to take 6 in the next 3 games or whatever it looks like, then the game is all worth it. But the most important thing is that we, as a group, we're making progress from that perspective. And I think it'll be in the end.
Pablo, Zach McMath had a lot of balls up and over the top. Is that part of the strategy as well, or is that just variation of service?
So again, I think the important thing for me as a coach is, and this is the takeaway from the Minnesota game, is we want everyone to be playing to our game model, to our style of play every game. The player on the ball has the decision to play whatever he sees, right? As a coach, if you're micromanaging and joysticking, then it's us using these guys as chess pieces. The reason why they're here is because they're very good players, and they all have the time to make decisions. So one of the things that we against a team that plays with a back five and they want to release their wingers really hard, the idea was, this guy's going to be open on the as we rotate it from left to right. The wing back's going to come, so Andres is going to be naked. And so the idea is you play a ball there. If he's on, play him. And so then the next time, he's got a question of whether or not to release. And again, I don't think we punished him enough from that, we weren't clean enough in that execution to ask really good questions. If Andres would have, you know, set up a goal with a pass or got him behind and scored himself, then now those wingbacks have to really make a decision. More times than not, the tactical adjustment is keep the wingback here. So now Brody has all the net time to advance the ball. That wasn't. It was. And I think every long ball he played has a different circumstance, and that'd be a question for Zach. You know, did he see the spacing behind, and that he thought it was a, you know, because he played probably 3 really good ones, and then there was a couple that that kind of went astray. But I think that's the important part of it. You know, for me as a coach is to make sure these guys have the autonomy. As long as everyone knows what we're meant to be doing, they make decisions that they see, so that there's ownership in the team. If not, we just I wouldn't like playing for a coach that would do that.
And then just quick follow-up, clean sheet at home. Congratulations on that. Backline's playing great, and the two pivots seem to be gelling together with them as well.
Yeah, you know what? It started back in preseason. Emeka, you know, we thought maybe he'd be more of a right back this year, and because of numbers in the middle of the field, he played, you know, 4 or 5 preseason games in that position. And you know, hey, to have this almost like this chemistry that is beyond tactics, that it's a feel thing. You know, you see it in all the sports, whether it's quarterback with the receiver, whether it's, you know, point guards or the big man. They just have this real connection and understanding of like knowing where they are before the play even evolves. And so those guys have been monsters. And I think the guys in the back, Jay Glad, Vera, and Brody have been solid as well. So again, I think these are all fantastic foundational pieces. And then when it all clicks, it's a thing of magic, because now you get the ball in the back of the net, and now you have teams running at it, and you want to play the same way, so then we're going to get chances. But we'll work this week on breaking down the walls of that goal and making sure that we get one back in there.
Thanks, Pablo.
Thank you.